I am absolutely shocked that they did not bring up what happened between Gerardo and Fernanda during the Love is Blind Season 1 reunion. Let's talk about it. Welcome back to the Dose of Morning Chisme. I am so happy that you have stumbled across my video. If this is your first time joining, welcome. We talk about all things pop culture, reality TV, and celebrity news. If you end up enjoying this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more videos in the future. Okay, you guys, Love is Blind Season 1, the Mexico edition, just finished airing, and we got the reunion today, and honestly, I am disappointed. There was several tense moments during the season that got completely glazed over, and I feel like they came for Idis a little bit, and we need to talk about all the details because it did not sit well with me, and I want to know what you guys think as well. So it starts out as everybody is going on the stage, and we can see that once they start calling out everyone's name, saying hi to everyone, that Fernanda is not amongst the people that are in either the crowd or sitting on the stage. And as we know, her and Gerardo did not make it to the altar, and they had a very intense and unnecessary fight where she was extremely inappropriate to him in episode 9 that I was hoping that they would at least address, because it was just not okay for her to do what she did. So as we know, we start out with all the couples. They start with Karen and Fernando first, who ended up getting married, and they put them in the center of this little stage thing, and they see whether they're still married or if they have broken up. It ends up turning green, which means that they are still married, and we kind of see a montage of their relationship, and they kind of give Karen a little bit of shit for the whole situation between her and Idis. And of course, you know, I see where Karen was coming from, because she was trying to call out Idis for her bullshit during the season, and I did agree with her in that moment. I did feel it was a little bit fake for Idis to go back with Renee when she clearly was not into him at the reveal. But I feel like at the reunion, I kind of wanted to change my opinion a little bit on Idis. I was like, okay, maybe I'm starting to see that she's actually genuine. I think that maybe I judged her a little bit too harsh. So then we go to Idis and Renee, who are no longer together. They went to the middle of the circle and it turned red, meaning that they are not together. As we know, these two got to the altar. He said no, and she didn't get to go, obviously. So they were not married, and they were going to try things out. They did it for a little bit, but apparently the distance was too much, so they're no longer continue to be dating. But they did grill Idis a lot about the whole Fernando situation. Was she, claiming him essentially? Was she not claiming him? This, that, and the other. And it was kind of annoying to me as well that Fernando was sitting there making faces this happened so long ago, chill, And I do think that Idis did have a point when it came to the whole Rocio thing. She did not say, I'm getting married, he proposed. She was saying, oh, I'm getting married. And Rocio took it a different way and went to tell Fernando. I do think the girls were mean for excluding her. That was unnecessary. But at the same time, I do understand Idis's annoyance with Rocio, because she kind of fumbled her chances with Fernando through Rocio, who told him about the whole situation. So I did not like that they were coming at Idis a little too harsh. We get it, okay? She kind of fucked up. And, she kind of also explained her side of the situation where it came to Renee and his appearance. She felt like he kind of reminded her of someone she used to be with, who was very toxic and, violent in her life. So she was sharing her piece, and I did appreciate that from her. We got to know her a little bit better. And now that I saw her at the reunion, I don't think... At the beginning, I did think that she was kind of being fake, but I feel like she was coming off very genuine at the reunion. It was good to see, that her and Renee did give it a shot, but it ultimately did not end up working. But they seem like good friends now. And then we go over to Sylvia and Chema, who I was very curious to see if they continued dating after the experiment, because I don't know, I feel like throughout the experiment, I was very disappointed in some of the things that Chema said. So I was really hoping that they would hold him accountable for that, because he made some comments about Sylvia at her birthday, commenting about her appearance, which I thought was in really poor taste. And although they had this very jugueton vibe where they were playful and, very laughable with each other, they were always having a good time, I feel like he did not take her seriously. And it kind of proved my point whenever they announced that they were no longer dating. As you guys know, at the very end of Love is Blind, when they were at the altar, they ended up running away. And I feel like that was completely his doing, essentially him telling her like, hey, I'm not gonna say yes, but let's like say fuck it and like run away together and then we can continue dating. And then he said that the reason they didn't continue dating was because he had more important things to deal with. And I felt like he was giving her the runaround. I think he just wasn't attracted to her, which kind of defeats the purpose of Love is Blind. Like, you went on Love is Blind not for your stereotypical type, because you're clearly not seeing somebody. But I do think that the comments that were made about Sylvia and her body were from conversations that Chema was having with the guys. Like, do y'all remember whenever Fernando and Gerardo had brought up, you know, is Sylvia essentially Chema's type? And I feel like that was just uncalled for, unnecessary. And all the comments that anyone said about Sylvia were so just cruel and so tacky and unnecessary, 100% unnecessary. Like, I'm glad that Chema took a moment to apologize to Sylvia, because although you can be the kind of person that just says what's on their mind, like, it can still very much hurt someone. And to make that comment at her birthday, and I've said this before, I think is in such poor taste. Like, it is loser energy to make such a negative comment about someone at their birthday. And of course, that other guy who was like a rando who even invited him also made a comment about her, but he obviously wasn't there. I wish they would have called that out too, because it was just kind of like a snowball effect. Like, he stood up and talked about her, and then Chema talked about her, and I'm like, y'all are all tacky as fuck to bring this up at her birthday. I just thought it was really rude. But Sylvia did make a very like empowering message, you know, essentially saying that like you shouldn't feel uncomfortable with your body, and like the way she handles herself is so admirable to me, especially as someone who is also, you know, plus size. I feel like she just gave me so much strength through the screen. I'm like, yes, bitch, I'm rooting for you. I feel like she was the most likable from this season. I feel like she's a genuine person. And to be quite honest, I'm glad that her and Chema did not work out, because I feel like she deserves the world with someone who never makes comments like that about her body. Because regardless if he apologizes, it's still on camera. You still felt comfortable at one point to say this on camera, on her birthday, and to other people, around other people. It's in poor taste. I didn't like it, and I didn't appreciate that from him whatsoever. So glad to see that they weren't together, but I was really curious to see if they were, because he posts a lot of her on his Instagram story, which makes me believe that they're obviously, you know, good friends. But I did, you know, I was curious before the reunion to see if they were going to end up together. But they are no longer together. Then we go over to Saul and Leti, and I did very much appreciate the fact that Saul did apologize to Leti for being quite inappropriate during the reveal. As you guys know, Saul and Leti got engaged, and then during the reveal, he was very inappropriate. Like, she had already told him like, hey, I'm more on like, she's conservative, and she just didn't want it to be, you know, over the top. Like, and I am absolutely completely like understanding of why she decided to no longer continue with him, because it made me uncomfortable. So I can only imagine how uncomfortable it made her. And they had talked about reconnecting at Sylvia's birthday, where she had said once the cameras got down, you know, we hung out at his birthday, but they're not together. She said that the ring that she wears is not an engagement ring, and that she is single. And then we go over to Gerardo and Maed, who Fernanda was obviously supposed to be there, but she in that moment is not there. And we see that Fernanda is going to be shown later, but in that moment she's not there. So Maed and Gerardo are sitting next to each other, and you know, he's like, I don't know where Fernanda is. And they reveal that after the whole situation with Fernanda happened, that breakup happened, he did hang out with Maed. And they also brought up the fact that Maed's song that she sang, I was like, can we put this to rest? This was so cringy. Let's just let this die already. We've played it 3 times. I did find it strange though that, I don't know, like, I understand that Fernanda was not it, and of course, like, I think that she should be held accountable for the things that she did, but I don't think that Gerardo was necessarily like the good guy in the situation. I think he did kind of lead her on. I think that maybe he did go on the show to be a musician, and him and Maed hung out after. They put them in the circle as well, and they're not dating, but they did, you know, hang out and apparently hook up with each other. And then we get a reveal, and it is Fernanda, which I did not think she was gonna come, but she does step in. She does come, and she must have asked, her and Franchesca must have asked, like, hey, if y'all are gonna bring these 2 scenes that we were, you know, very aggressive and inappropriate in, we're not gonna fucking come, because they did not touch on it one bit. I'm actually severely disappointed in Love is Blind Mexico for not bringing this up during the reunion and making, you know, them be accountable for these moments that were so disappointing and would be so incredibly different if it was Gerardo and Willy who were the ones that had done it, and not Franchesca and Fernanda. So Fernanda comes out there, you know, they talk to her for a little bit. Gerardo sits next to her. Obviously, these two people do not like each other. They do not like each other whatsoever. They put them in the center. They're obviously not together, so there's no point in seeing if it's green or red. But then we see Fernanda have a conversation and say that she feels like after the show, she realized that watching it back, he clearly wasn't on the show for love, that she was blindsided and she had a lot of questions. And, you know, he's just kind of standing there like that's not exactly what happened. Obviously, you know, he is a musician, but he didn't go on the show to be a musician. And it is just, sorry if you guys hear a train, there's a train passing by, but it is just so insane to me that they were digging into Karen, they were digging into Idis, but they did not dig at all at Fernanda. So I am convinced that they had something drawn up in the contract for it to not be brought up, because the way they let her just slide through like it was nothing is so disappointing. And she is obviously not sorry about the situation, nor is she holding herself accountable, because she has doubled down on her Instagram stories, on her, you know, Instagram comments. She also posted a story today where she was like, I'm going to tell my side of the story, blah, blah, blah. I haven't watched the reunion, but because it's a beautiful day, but I'll be watching it after, whatever. And it's just crazy, because if you watched episode 9 of the series, it was just a very intense moment with a very intense and inappropriate reaction from her that needed to be like brought up. It was, and I genuinely thought that they were going to, you know, since they were saving Franchesca and Fernanda to the very end, I thought they were going to hold their feet to the fire, and they did not at all. Like, the two additional people that were like with the host, I don't know their names, so sorry for not knowing their names. They were, you know, digging at everybody else and like wanting more of answers from them. But with Fernanda and Franchesca, they didn't do any of that. So it was just, I don't know, maybe it's just me that wanted to see them two being held accountable, because it was just really disappointing as women to see them act like that. I'm still like such in shock. Like, I literally watched it twice because I was like, there's no way that they didn't say anything. Like, that's so weird. Like, Gerardo and Willy, sure, maybe also made mistakes. Like, I don't think that Gerardo didn't not lead her on. I think that there was times where he was kind of like telling her like, we're the top couple, like I'm really into you. And then he was also at the same time potentially maybe wanting to stay on the show, but none of that justifies her reaction, cutting up clothes, throwing his shit around, and obviously also the things we didn't see when the camera was covered. But it was just, like I said, it was disappointing to see. I'm actually shocked that they didn't, you know, bring it up. And I thought they were going to. Like, I really did. I thought that we were getting to a point where she was going to either apologize or be asked about it, and neither of those things happened. So I guess we're going to see what her side of the story is after she posted that Instagram, essentially saying that she will be sharing that soon. And then Franchesca and Willy, same thing. As we saw, Franchesca was yelling at Willy in one of the episodes, and they did not get married at the very end. She said no first, and then he also read his speech where he was like, I was going to say no too, bitch. Like, you know, but she went over to him and gave him back like a family heirloom, and he was like, actually, like, this was for you. And she like was like, no, I'm giving it back. And it was just like a petty exchange. And they also didn't hold her feet to the fire at all for her, you know, reaction to him. And that was kind of pretty much everything of the reunion, at least the important points. And I have to say, like, they held Idis to the fire for like a fat minute, but they didn't do that at all with Fernanda and with Franchesca. And it had me a little bit shocked. And I am a little disappointed that they didn't hold them accountable, because if this was reversed, it would have been a very, very different story. But what did you guys think of the reunion? Those were my thoughts. If I missed anything, let me know in the comments. Like, you guys know, it's always chaotic over here. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.